Is it terrifying?
No, I don't think so. It's the way it is, you know. Everything must come to an end. The drip finally stops.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is A Morning Somewhere for May 7th, 2024. Nailed it. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there, finishing her 21-year run. On May 7th is Ashley Burns. How you doing, Ash?
Yeah, not too bad.
Oh, you were really listening for Finn, weren't you?
I was. Bernie, happy Red versus Blue Day.
It's I do like that it came out on like 9 p.m. last night, which is a Monday, which is fitting because traditionally Red versus Blue was a Monday show.
So it
even going all the way back
made it
to 2003, we would put out the episodes for sponsors on Friday, and then we'd have the whole weekend, and it would come out on Monday for the internet at large. So it was fitting, I thought, that it came out on Monday.
Yeah, so if you haven't got a chance to, you can. It's now available to buy on most sites, right? Like Amazon Prime is the one that I keep seeing it as, or seeing it on, and it will be available for rental on the 21st.
And you don't even have to link your Sony account or your Xbox account or anything like that. It came out, and so far everyone has been very nice about it. Very nice comments and reviews coming in, pretty much spot on. It's always nice when the reviews line up with the impression of your own work. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah, like I think the main criticism of it, which is a criticism I would take all day, which is that people just wish there was more. You know, they wished it was longer. More importantly to me, they talked about how it felt like a satisfying ending, which after 21 years is like, if you can get that comment and you can have that pretty much said. Not universally, of course, because everyone's going to have criticisms of everything. But so many people overwhelmingly saying it was a satisfying ending. It's like, great, okay, that's great.
Yeah,
that's really great.
Nail the landing, give it the it's beautiful swan song.
Well, that's why I went back, right? You and I talked a long time about it because of the state of the show where it was, and it was just clearly not. It was just going to kind of fade out from where it was. So I went back and worked on it and wanted to give it a nice little bow, like I said, love letter to the fans, and give some closure to some of the characters that we had seen for literally decades at this point in time. So
yeah. So
thank you for all the lovely comments. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad that everyone is sitting there at their computers crying. That's my goal in life.
Well, for what it's worth, I also saw Bernie tearing up as he was writing it. So it's nice when those emotions are both shared and received.
That is an unfair description of that because I tear up when I write almost anything, and I don't know why. And I've always been that way. One of the most difficult things for me is to be in a room and pitching a show because I just get teary-eyed when I start pitching a show of any kind. And I don't know why.
And here's a bunch of idiots. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Just a moment.
And then he pulls down his pants.
It reveals 2 snakes.
I've always been that way. And it's so weird because this podcast is so tied into that as well because Red versus Blue is coming back. Have some other projects that I'm working on, which at some point we'll talk about. But I was thinking the show was going to come out last fall. So we had this show ready to go in the fall. And then it just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And then we put this podcast out in December. And then all the weird, not weird, all the dramatic developments with Rooster Teeth happened between now and then. I mean, even the show, the way it was written, even the commentary that we did, even some of the social media stuff that I flew myself back in to do in January took on a totally different tone after they announced the closing of Rooster Teeth. But it was it wasn't written with that in mind at all because that didn't exist when I wrote the script. It was just about the show and just about the characters.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes the universe lines up in really weird ways.
Yeah, and so in so many ways, it's a goodbye to a lot of things.
What are the chances that Red versus Blue would be coming out literally 2 days before the company closes down? What are the chances that that would happen?
Yeah, not high.
Wasn't
Not high.
planned.
But I am grateful that at the very least, this is making it out.
Yeah.
You know, because they're with with the announcement of the shutdown, there was always a risk that it just might not make it. And so I'm so glad to see it. It's out in the wild. It's there. Everyone can watch it and really get a nice goodbye.
And when I say I flew myself back in for the social stuff, it actually wasn't for the social stuff, although it now turned out to be that way. They wanted to do the director's commentary for the DVD. They wanted to do that over Zoom. Because I think it's fair to say this, there was no budget for this thing at all. Like when people say they wished it was longer, I wish it was longer too. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? You have to
You
go
do
to
the best
war.
you can with what you got.
You go to war with the army you have. If that's not a great red versus blue metaphor, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? That's just a reality of the situation. And went in and tried to tell the best story we possibly could. Matt's always great about just write whatever you want, and we'll figure out a way to make that work. I call it the beautiful lie. He says it to me every time we do any kind of script writing thing that he's going to direct. And man, they really nailed it. Him and Josh and the whole crew, they did such a tremendous job of executing. If you've seen it, not going to spoil anything, but there was times I talked about taking a risk on some scenes in particular that were very whimsical. And that's the scene that everybody really likes. And I think that's entirely due to the execution of the team being able to pull that scene off. And I won't spoil what that is. But when I say whimsical, you'll know what I mean when you see it. Like it's different than just about anything else, I think, that has ever been done in Red versus Blue before. But yeah, no, I flew myself in. They wanted to do it over teleconference, the commentary. And it's like, I can't do the last one like this. So I got a plane ticket, flew myself over, and then depending on how the digital goes, there might be a Blu-ray release, but that's not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. I would imagine if the digital release doesn't go that great, then there might not be a Blu-ray. But I could be wrong. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, fingers crossed, because I would love to see a lot of people be able to complete their collection, because so many people have the physical, so many of the physical discs. It'd be really cool. It'd be nice to have the disc for your final RVB.
Yes, and there's a lot of people now with the closing of Rooster Teeth. When I say a lot of people, I mean a lot of people over and over again asking, hey, how am I going to see this once the site shuts down? And I'm like, there's been about 21 years of DVDs, you fuckers. You could have gotten those at any point in time. But, I think a lot of the properties will go into what it seems strange for Rooster Teeth. But it's not strange for media in general. You don't know where things are going to end up. I mean, how many times have you gone to Netflix and said, hey, this Netflix show that I love, where the hell is it?
Right, and it's gone.
I even love that Netflix, when you type in a movie and it knows the name of the movie.
Yeah, and you go into the autocomplete, it's like, nope, here's all this other stuff.
Oh, you want... Okay, we don't have that. The autocomplete
Yeah, we get it. No, we don't have
that. Autocomplete is a little bit of a bait and switch, I think.
Because you're like, oh, great, it's going to come up. Nope.
But we'll talk more about Red vs. Blue later when more people have seen it. It's literally probably 14 hours old at this point. So the people who have been commenting on it are the people who were waiting for this right out of the gate. That, I think, is honestly the toughest audience. And so I'm really pleased with people's reaction to it. And them calling it a satisfying ending to the series, that is just warms my heart. Thank you so much to everyone who has said that so far.
And it's nice. It's good to be able to get to an end.
Yeah, it's like we have a show that we really like that's now coming in, and it's popular, which is great. But they just put out a trailer for season 4 of The Boys. You and I like that series. Ashley and I don't watch a lot of stuff together religiously. This is one of those shows that we do.
Well, if you would just come over to Gay Vampire High and...
Not doing it.
I really think you'd enjoy yourself.
Gotta stick to my guns somewhere, babe.
No, we do have we have specific types of shows that we like to watch together.
I have said in the past, I really like you a lot. I like you. But I wouldn't say that I like you.
We watch House of the Dragon. We just watched Fallout. Every season we watch The Boys together. And
there's also shows we try to watch together. Mandalorian. We both stopped watching Mandalorian because we haven't been watching it together.
Yeah, have we
Sometimes that works against us, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we've finished that season, but anyway. But yeah, they put out a trailer. This was a few days ago now, for season 4 of The Boys. And it looks good. It looks great. It looks like an escalation once again. The Boys has a weird thing that happens every season, in that I love the season. I love each season of The Boys. And somehow at the end of the season, I'm like, oh, they didn't get very far. Like each season, have you noticed they have like their own arc, but then they do a lot of resets. This one, I feel like, has made some pretty dramatic changes to where the characters are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, there's some characters in particular. There was one character from last season who seemed like she had a lot of closure. She was done for a character arc. I wonder if they're going to bring her back.
Didn't see any sign of her.
Yeah, really? You didn't see her in it? Interesting. We're talking around the name of the character here, so we don't spoil anything.
Yeah, but I would recommend checking out the trailer if you want a preview of the season. If you don't, cool.
Interesting thing about The Boys is I really like it. There's a lot of ancillary material around The Boys. Have you watched the animated series?
No, I walked through the room when you and I think JD were watching some of the animated series, and it managed to be even more sort of gory and disgusting than The Boys, which is about my upper limit. And I went, nope, not doing it. And there's another show
what else
that goes with it. There's the Gen V show that's like at the university or something.
Sorry, that pause right there was brought to you by me coughing. I stole some of Ashley's birthday chocolates. I just got busted finding out. And I think I had a little piece of almond stuck in my throat. Almond.
But yeah, there's the Gen V show that takes place at a university, which apparently we need to check out. Everyone says it's good. I think I just wrote it off, and I don't know why I wrote it off.
They just had
Does that ever happen to you?
One of their cast members die, and they made the announcement they were not going to recast.
Yeah, one of their major stars, I think he died in a car accident, motorcycle accident, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not going to recast that character. I don't know what they'll do. But regardless, we should check that out. It seems like there's going to be some more tie-ins with that show in this season of The Boys. So do we have homework now?
I mean, it all depends. You can just watch the main show. You know what you wouldn't like?
What wouldn't I like?
If you didn't like the animated show because it was too violent, you would not like the original source material, which is the graphic novels, The Boys.
Yeah, I know.
Hyper-violent, hyper-sexual as well. Not that The Boys series is not sexual. But I read the graphic novels. I got them for JD because he really liked the show. And then when we were reading the graphic novels, I was like, oh, this is not really for me. Yeah. Which it inspired a great series that I greatly adore. But yeah, I didn't really respond to the source material.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I know that the hyperviolence has its place. I just get grossed out.
Yeah. When you're in a relationship or marriage, as we are, sometimes your spouse has things that you're just like, okay, that'll go on a shelf. Okay, sure. I can live with that in the house.
Like what?
Well, like yours is all your boxes for your old games and stuff. I'm assuming that my thing that sits on a shelf that you're just like, okay, this is the person I married and they're going to have this, are my like volumes 1 through 18 hardback editions of The Walking Dead.
I bought you those
graphic novels.
That was one of the first gifts I got you when we got together.
That's right.
Do you
helped
remember
me complete
that?
the set, didn't
Yeah.
you? Yeah. Yeah. I love the modern adaptations for these long series where they'll take like a graphic novel that's beloved, turn it into a really epic series, but then they turn enough things on their ear and change enough of the characters to where it doesn't matter if you've read the books, read the graphic novels. The series will be different enough. And Walking Dead was definitely like that. By about the third season, you're like, this is an entirely different cast of characters than is in the graphic novels.
And, that's very interesting, too, because we've talked a lot about adaptations, and it's like, oh, they just took characters and then did their own thing. So, for example, one of the, Halo, as a show, took a lot of criticism from fans for taking characters, but essentially telling their own story with those characters, right? Yeah. I'm actually surprised in that light that something like The Walking Dead, it didn't really seem to get a lot of that pushback. In fact, it killed off like completely different sets of characters very early on, and from that point was telling a very different story.
Why I think that's the case, Halo had an enormous audience before it became a Halo series. Arguably, the source material has a bigger audience than the show does. Walking Dead was the exact opposite. Who the hell had read the Walking Dead graphic novels?
I guess
by the time it came out? Man, when you talk to people who are like diehard Walking Dead fans, it's always like older ladies, you know what I mean? Who are watching like AMC. And I think honestly, it's the Daryl Dixon character that a lot of people latched onto.
Oh, he got his own spinoff, right?
Yeah, there's like a billion spinoffs. I think there's even a new Walking Dead that's coming out. Like that franchise is huge, man. Huge.
Done well for AMC.
To the point where I don't even know if the graphic novels are done or not. Like, the graphic novels went for years and years. They might have just wrapped it up and ended the whole thing. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll have to check. There's another interesting thing happening too. This is in film, but I saw an article that kind of surprised me. This is from Variety. I'm going to read you the headline. Furiosa First Reactions praise Fury Road prequel as powerhouse action filmmaking at its absolute best.
That's great.
It is great. It was a surprise to me because when the sort of first looks, like the first images and things were coming out about that movie, I heard so many people saying, "Oh, this looks awful. I can't believe this. Why are they making this movie? Why would they take like such a great character and then make this prequel and it's going to be awful and it doesn't look great?" And now everyone is saying, it looks great, which sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sounds like Mad Max, Fury Road, right?
Yeah. You were telling me that that Tom Hardy famously apologized for being skeptical about the movie during filming.
While making the movie. Like, he had to go back to George Miller after the fact and publicly essentially apologize because after the movie came out, he said, I just didn't get what we were doing at the time. Which, if you sit down, I've watched Fury Road probably 20 times, 30 times. It's my airplane movie.
It's such a great movie, and it's so, I don't know, it's so watchable.
You ever have that thing where you're like scrolling, trying to find the movie you're going to watch, and you're like, okay.
Yeah,
I heard that won awards and all this stuff.
You
and then
have
there's always
to go all the way through and narrow down the options because none of them are the movie you want to watch, so you're deciding what will kill time the best.
Right. But then there's always one movie, and I think everyone's got one movie, one or two, that when they see it, they go, oh, okay, I have to watch it. Like, it's an hour and a half of my time that'll go by so fast. Love, for me, it's two Charlize Theron movies. It's Mad Max Fury Road and Atomic Blonde. If they show up on the list, I'll go, oh, fuck. It's almost like disappointing. I have to watch this now. Because
like, oh, great, here we go again. Atomic Blonde is one of those movies that I feel like it flew under the radar or it didn't get the credit it deserved for having some of the most brutal and realistic fight scenes. Like, it's
where the protagonist is not invincible.
Yes, and it's so great. It's so great because she's taking absolute beating. Mm-hmm. And you're exhausted with these characters. Even the bad guy or bad guys that she's fighting are utterly exhausted from this fight. They're all struggling to get up off the floor. And if you feel sympathy for them, you're like, I feel you, bro. And you're tired with them. They're so well executed. And I love the sort of 80s neon style of that film. It is so good. She's so good. Those fights are so good. How is this not the biggest hit in the world? Also a comic adaptation.
Yeah, also a comic adaptation. And while we're talking about Invincible Heroes, the first image from James Gunn's Superman has hit the web. And it's the one that features David Corenswet. Is that how you say his name?
We're going to learn real quick if we don't already know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to say Corenswet for now.
I would have probably said Henry Cavill the first time I saw him as Superman. So David Corenswet, first image of him as Clark Kent / Superman. And it's an interesting photo. Everyone's like breaking down the costume and him. It's just, to me, such an odd choice, the scene and the setting and the tone of the image for what they're going to release for Superman for the first time. It's got me interested, but it's literally Superman like putting on his boots while something massive is going on in the background. But then he's also sitting in a chair in what looks to be like a penthouse.
And he looks like he's already been through the grinder a little bit.
Is that boot coming off or going on?
I mean, I'm assuming it's going on because whatever is happening in the background, that looks an awful lot like a Superman logo in the sky.
Yeah,
right?
We'll post the image in the link dump. You can click on it and look at it. But it's interesting. It's going to be contentious. It's Superman, and the first look at anything, everyone's going to be like, bleh. It wasn't what I expected. It wasn't what I hoped.
I mean, he looks like a Superman.
He looks like Superman. He definitely looks like Superman.
So I'll give the photo that. It does its job. He looks like Superman.
Apparently, this is a thing I wasn't aware, that whether or not Superman's outfit has the red shorts is a big deal to a lot of people.
Is it?
Yes.
Interesting.
Apparently, the Henry Cavill ones, or Cavill, did not have the red underpants, and people were supremely disappointed by that.
I thought that was very much a sort of comic era thing. There was a time when when Batman also wore his underpants on the outside,
Yep.
and that went away, and everyone seems fine with bat suits now. It might just be an era that we're sort of moving on from. Everyone's learned to put their pants on the inside.
Well, I'll be interested. We're all going to go see it. It's a Superman movie. It's a new version, a new era of Superman, kicking off the DC. It's DCEU, right? Isn't that the way they say it?
I don't know what it is anymore. To
Anyway,
be perfectly honest.
DC Cinematic Universe.
Especially because they've still got their side, their elsewhere's whatever it is universe with like the Batman over here that's not in this universe. So
Robert Pattinson's Batman.
yes,
By the way, it's a great rendition of Batman.
so good.
It might be my favorite, honestly. The way they showed him at the beginning of like when the bat signal goes off and all the crooks all over Gotham are just like see it and they're all looking at the shadows because they know Batman's. That to me communicated Batman and the mythos of Batman better than anything else I'd seen on screen for Batman ever before.
If I have one criticism of the Batman, and I love that film, I'm really looking forward to what they do with that in the future. It's that I always enjoyed the sort of dichotomy of Batman, but then also his like billionaire, like the champagne and stuff. But then I'm also going to go fight crime. And he was.
I was just going to see if you came up with it, Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne, thank you.
I left you hanging there a little bit.
You did. I don't appreciate it, but you knew where I was going with it. I'm not great with names. His sort of billionaire persona was a little emo, and checked out. And he wasn't really committed to the bit of putting on that billionaire persona as his costume to hide the Batman, essentially. Right. And I'd like to see some of the glitz because I feel like the contrast is really nice. It's
an interesting thing that you don't see too frequently, except with certain characters in particular. You don't see one actor playing the hero and one actor playing the alter ego. Kind of like Lou Ferrigno was the Hulk, and then Bill Bixby was Bruce Banner in the series. But that's just the only way they could do it back then. But no one's ever carried that through. The Hulk kind of gets that a little bit, but now with CG, they just kind of inflate the person.
Yeah,
and you
I think
really
we're
do get
done with that era.
You get Mark Ruffalo in the Hulk. You can see him in there, especially the later, like the Smart Hulk. But yeah, why not? Why not give that a go and see if people could tolerate an alter ego and the hero being two different people?
Could be fun, especially if there's a lot of physical transformation involved.
Yeah.
Who's to say we won't see that sometime in the future?
Who's to say? I mean, a lot of times now the characters are CG, like Spider-Man isn't really Spider-Man. Although Tom Holland is able to pull off some of the most amazing like flips just running down the street and stuff. I had no idea he was so physical himself.
He's like a ballet dancer and everything. He's bizarrely physically agile.
Well, while we're talking about Superman and we're talking about Tom Holland, which leads to Zendaya, the pictures from the Met Gala came out. And I always laugh when I watch these photos because years ago I tweeted that I literally have no idea what the Met Gala is, but the costumes that they wear on the red carpet, they're always completely outrageous. And I said, I don't know what happens at the Met Gala, but I assume that at some point everyone sits down around a big table and tries to figure out how they're going to kill the Superman. It just looks like our yearly collection of supervillains. That's what it looks like to me.
It does.
Yeah.
It is one of those rare times though where everyone on the red carpet is sort of aimed in the same direction and doing their utmost craziest costumes. Like this is worn art. This is art on the body. So the Met Gala, since you're wondering, it's a fundraising benefit for the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Okay, that part I knew. Yeah.
It's run by, I believe, Anna Wintour, was it Cosmopolitan? No, she was
Bruce Banner in these.
But she's basically the inspiration for
in Devil Wears
Prada. She's like she's fashion icon. She is Bernie fashion.
The Met Gala or Met Ball, formerly called the Costume Institute Gala or the Costume Institute Benefit, is an annual fundraising gala held for the benefit of the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why it's all like high fashion. It literally is for costumes. I didn't know that up until this point. I thought it was just an art thing,
I mean, and it is too. It's cool they do a theme every year. So you'll see people, that's why everyone is like dressed as a villain one year. Or everyone is dressed as like a character from a Disney movie practically one year.
But I love that's bleeding into all sorts of stuff. Because now, like Zendaya for the Dune 2 premiere, she had on like a legit set of armor that she was wearing.
Man, you'll notice that armor was pretty clear in some spots, though.
It's girl armor.
I was going to say, I was like, she was wearing the ultimate girl armor. It was like armor, but make sure you show the right bits.
Right. Well, it only covers you can't cover everything. It's got to be sexy armor. Most archers are male, so when they go to shoot, they're going to naturally aim at the boobs just by
So you got those covered in your set.
eye line going that way. They can't help themselves. Yeah. But then Anya Taylor-Joy,
Speaking of Furiosa, yes.
the Furiosa premiere. Did you see what she wore?
Well, that was also, I think, was that also a Dune thing potentially? Because she's in Dune 2.
No, she was wearing she looked like one of the steering wheels from the War Boys in Fury Road. And it's funny because she's in this outrageous outfit. You know what she looks like? She looks like a warlock from World of Warcraft that did a level 60 raid and stole all the loot from everybody else.
You're
That's
right.
What she looks like.
That was the Furiosa premiere, and we'll post this in the link because it is. She looks like an illustration, or she looks like a video game character, or something. It's hard to describe. Lots of spikes on the head.
And there's
Lots of
Hemsworth
spikes.
right next to her, and he's just in a
In a
sport
suit.
coat.
And everyone's gonna be like, he's looking sharp.
I mean, she looks like she can't even sit down. She looks like she can't go through a doorway without turning sideways. And he's like, should I wear a tie or not?
The knot on this tie, I'm not sure. This knot is a bit big, I feel, for this suit. Do you ever feel like guys kind of get the shaft when it comes to getting the crazy outfits and costumes and stuff? Because you really get to pick the color of the suit and the color of the shirt, and you can decide, are you wearing the vest underneath? But there are limits unless you're willing to get really wacky.
Yeah, but I don't know, because it all depends on how much confidence they have and how much they want to flex too. Like that guy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Timothy Chalamet. He who was also in Dude. He's been taking some risks as well, which is cool to see. But just most guys just don't feel comfortable doing that.
I like that sometimes though, for guys, taking a risk on the red carpet is taking your tuxedo trousers and making them shorts.
You know, it's interesting though. Some of the people that you wouldn't associate with taking those kinds of risks are the guys that do it. Like some of the older athletes, like retired athletes, they wear these really outrageous or ostentatious suits and things like that. They tend to be taking more risks than some other people.
I love it. I want to see more of it.
Like you said, variations on the suit theme, but we'll get there eventually. Most guys are just grateful to just have an easy, I'll just give me the suit. This matches that. I'm good.
I'm going to throw you an easy idea.
Yeah.
See-through armor.
Yeah. Plus, guys, do we really need guys being even more the center of attention? Give me a break. All right, Ash, before we go, do we have any sponsors for today's episode?
We certainly do. I would like to thank DJ M and Connie for sponsoring this episode of Morning Somewhere. Thank you both for being sponsors at our Patreon.
And if you have any ideas for how to kill the Superman from the two of you, we'd love to hear it. All right, well, that does it for us today, May 7th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you all will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.